as many of the Niners assets as they've invested, whether it's the 3 draft picks to go get Brandon Ayuk, the 2 to trade up to get Pettis, the pick on Hurd, the pick on Debo, wide receiver is still a genuine need for this team, and they need a legitimate third receiver. And I don't know if that's a second-round pick. I don't know if it's a third-round pick. I don't know if it's a fourth-round pick. But the Niners find themselves once again in a position where there has to be a significant draft pick invested on a receiver. So who do you think they should target, and what round do you think they should be looking at?
Man, you just got to go with value, right? And I think there are a lot of people that be like, well, in this round, I want to get this guy. Then in this round, I want to get this guy. And my thing is, like, there's probably several places where the 49ers can upgrade or get get youth at a position where there's corner, receiver, edge rusher. With me, it would just be based on where I have this guy on my draft board. So if this receiver is high on my draft board and I'm in that second round and that's the guy I want, then I'm going to take him. If I have a defensive end or a cornerback that's higher on my draft board, just from an ability standpoint, what I think this guy is, then I'm going to take that position. So I wouldn't pigeonhole the 49ers into having to take a guy just second round, third round, fourth. It's just what's the best guy that's going to be available at that time. And I think obviously that changes per round, but if I had my choice, I would definitely be looking to draft a receiver as early as possible, because I do think it's a bigger need for the 49ers than most people want to say it is. They put a lot of resources into that position, but even then, they pretty much have 1.5 receivers right now. They got Ayuk, and then you got half of one with Debo, who Debo is definitely a good receiver, but also does all these other things as well. And then it's like, okay, we got to make sure that we keep them healthy. If one of these guys go down, what do you have now? Like, you have nothing. You got Richie James, who is solid, but he's not somebody I think that they want to just really have to have out there. So I think receiver definitely needs to be prioritized more than most fans probably want to admit, because they want these other positions. But I'd say, second round, if I'm looking for a receiver at that spot, I don't think a bunch of receivers are going to go first round. I think some are going to start flying off the board second round, but I would say, man, like second round, maybe like a guy like Rashad Bateman. I think he's a guy that could probably be there where, it's a deep class. There's some really good receivers. I think some guys, will kind of last longer than people expect. And I'd expect like a guy like Rashad Bateman probably be there second round. If we're talking third round or even like later than that, right? Like say fourth or fifth round, there's a guy like Jonathan Adams from Arkansas State. He's a 6'3". He brings a different type of dynamic to the receiver group that the 49ers don't have. That 6'3" receiver plays, big, high pointing balls and stuff like that, red zone threat. 49ers don't really have that guy. So if you wait a little bit, he's a guy that 49ers could probably target later in the draft.
Blake?
So I would probably go with the guy who's played third fiddle before, and that's Terrace Marshall. So he's out of LSU. If you guys remember 2019, they had Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase ahead of him. So he was like the third guy, but he still killed it. He had double-digit touchdowns, really good in the slot and just like intermediate. I wouldn't say he's like insane after the catch. Like I still think he's pretty good, but he's not, like throwing dudes off him. But that's what they got Debo for, who does exactly that. So I think he would be an awesome get for the Niners. And whether that's the second round, I don't know. I don't think he'll be there in the third, but if they maybe trade down or trade their third pick up, I think he'd be awesome.
I think he's a first round pick. That's why I didn't even touch on him. Remember, I had him. That's who I thought would go. Like if the Packers at the end of the first round, if they're looking for a receiver, I think he could potentially be there in that type of round. You got to hope a team like, the Ravens don't want him or something like that. But that's a guy who I think you touched on it, his ability to play outside, play inside. Like he's really whatever you need. He's a vertical threat as well. Extremely good contested catch. He ran in the 4.3s on his pro day, and maybe he's not a 4.3 guy, but he's definitely a 4.4, low 4.4 guy where I've seen him just split coverages vertically and just catch the ball and outrun everybody. So now he's different. I really like Marshall a lot. I think he's a top 5 receiver in this class, to be honest.
Yeah, and that's where I stand, right? You mentioned Marshall as a top 5 receiver, and I think Dimey Brown is also a top 5 receiver in this class. And to me, if either of those guys are at 43, unless like Jalen Phillips' physical is so bad that he's somehow there at 43 and the Niners can just draft him to redshirt him a year. Same thing with Farley. To me, it's a no-brainer at 43. You just go take one of them because they're just way too good value there. And I think they would bring a different element to the Niners offense, and especially Marshall, because you touched on it with Debo, right? And I think I'm higher than some people on Debo as just a sole receiver. And part of it is because Debo is just my favorite player in the NFL. But I think that the way the Niners use Debo, I do think they need another guy where when you get into 3rd and 8 situations, I think this is where Emmanuel Sanders' value was really for the 49ers. 3rd and 8, man, we know Emmanuel Sanders can get open. He knows how to get open, and he's going to be right at that right spot for whoever the quarterback is, whether it's Jimmy. At that time, it was Garoppolo, and for Garoppolo to be able to throw him the ball. And I think from that standpoint, that's where Marshall is just – he's so smooth. He knows how to run routes. He knows how to get open. Everything is just so clean with him. I think he would be an insane draft pick for the 49ers at 43.
Yeah, that would be great. That would be ideal for sure. If he's there for the 49ers, man, I like his game a lot. And then the versatility, and that's something that Kyle Shanahan has covered with his receivers, the ability to not just be pigeonholed to one spot, right? To be able to line up outside, to be able to line up on the left side, right side, inside, like, be able to line up tight splits and still be able to win in all areas of the field. I think Terrace Marshall definitely gives you that.
Yeah, and to me, actually, a comp for what Terrace Marshall and Ayuk would be on the field would be kind of what Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson were, two guys that can kind of do every single thing for in a tight split offense. I kind of think the Terrace Marshall and Brandon Ayuk would be similar from that standpoint.
Yeah, I can only imagine Justin Fields throwing some nice bombs to those guys. I can see it now.